everybody, we are back with another review, and today we are reviewing Screwball Scramble. Now, this game is made by Coleco Games. Yes, that is the same Coleco that makes video games, but it's also brought to you by Tommy. So Tommy is a toy company from the late 80s, early 90s, all the way through the late 90s, and they made toys ranging from video games to board games to whatever. They made literally almost every toy that was popular throughout the 90s. Tommy had their name on them. So this Screwball Scramble is from 1987. So basically, we'll just go through what's in the box, and then we'll show you the game and show you how the mechanics of the game are played. So without further ado, let's hop right into the review. So we got in the box, we have a nice coloration on the lid here of the game being played. So if you haven't gotten the gist of it just off the box art, it's basically an obstacle course. That's the board game. We have the vintage instructions here, which has the gameplay explained, but I'll explain it to you extremely fast. So basically what you're trying to do is traverse through the obstacle course before the timer is up, and this is the timer actually right here. So let's get the box out of the way, and so the timer right here, this goes actually up in this little post back here and sticks up like that. But the timer is a 70-second timer, and it even has the date there. Look there, 1987. And it's simply just a start-stop timer. So very simple for children. The age range on this is 6 and up. So 6 and up. So this is basically, as I'm going through this and showing you the demonstration of the game, keep it in mind that this was intended for the intelligence and the skill set of a 6-year-old. So, with that in mind, let's look at some of the mechanics of the game. So we have a little chrome marble here, and the chrome marble starts right over here at the start location, and we have some knobs here on the bottom. They all say different things. We got some that say, here, I'll show you, I'll pull the board up a little bit closer there. We have push, we got a twist, we have a directional pad, we have a lever, we have another directional pad, and we have 2 hits. So let me show you what each one of the mechanics does to the board before we actually put the marble through the course. So the first one does this little bridge. So basically what it does is it teeter-totters the entire bridge, and what you're supposed to do is use the ball to get to the end here. Now once you're at the end, there is this receiver arm which the ball would suck up to this magnet that's underneath this little arm right here, and you would essentially bring the ball over to this little receiving area right here, which will allow it to drive down these 2 spreadable bars. So once it slides down through the spreadable bars, it'll hit this platform right here, which we have a directional pad to do the maneuvering, and we have obviously 2 turnabouts right here. We have one that'll dump you off into the start, and you'd have to start the obstacle course all over again. And then the other one which proceeds through the bridge. Now think about this as like an obstacle course that a human would go through if it was like a physical challenge. If you fall off into the water or fall off the obstacle course, and you have to start all over again. Same concept with this. And it even has this little ball gutter down here to catch your ball as it slides down, so you could easily restart. Once you go down through the bridge, it has this little area right here, which they're calling it the fire area. But basically what you're doing is you're hopping it up from this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one, and from here up to this bridge, which will allow you to traverse through this maze right here, which, as you can see, I'm maneuvering it. And what you're doing is blindly moving the ball through the maze by simply using this little joystick down here. So it's a little directional joystick, as you can see right here. And then since these 2 arms right here are controlled, as you can see, they're both moving. They're both controlled by the same maneuver, which is this lever, which has a 7 and a 2 here, which means it controls the movements for position 7 and position 2. Now they're offset here, whereas once this one stops here, which is where it drops the ball down, it lines up the little wooden spaceship right here, which is going to transport the ball to this other platform in the back, which is going to be right back here. So as you can see, once this is in position, it actually sets up and tees up the next movement for the game piece. So once you go through there, it lands on the little rocket ship right there, the little wooden rocket ship, and then that allows you to bring it over to this other platform, which rolls onto the last part, which is this little flip up, and that's gonna hopefully land your ball into this little yellow circle, which is the finish, and it will ding the bell. So let's see exactly how fun this game is to play. So me personally, I've played this before and I know how the game is, but it'd be nice to show you exactly what I go through when I try to play this game. So first off, let's go through this initial part. Well, we're going to start the timer. Let's do that, because this is supposed to take 70 seconds to go through this. Now, obviously, you keep playing the game over and over again, and you keep getting better at learning the techniques of the game. But right off the bat, think about somebody who's went to, on the lid here, it actually has a tag for KB Toys right here. But, I mean, think if you went to KB Toys, and this has $17 on it. Like, if I was going to pay it has $17 and change. The tag's kind of ripped off. So over $17 they paid for this game. If I paid that for this game in 1987, I kind of feel like I would want it to be engaging right off the bat, not something where I have to build up skill towards it. It's nice to have both those things happening at the same time, where you're not only getting better at the game, but you're able to easily navigate it the first few passes to keep you interested. So that was the main thing that I noticed with this game is you're not supposed to tilt it at all. You're supposed to leave it on a flat level surface. And the game's mechanics should basically allow you to play the game. But there are some major downfalls that I've noticed, especially with this first part. Like even that, it's like getting it to go all the way to the end is amazing. But, you know, you got to get it up there and you got to get it underneath that arm, where it kind of doesn't want to go underneath the arm. I mean, it's even like kind of forced on there in regards to like how it has to get underneath it. You have to kind of push it underneath, but naturally it doesn't want to go underneath that. And then once you have the magnet on the ball, you go to move the ball, but guess what? The ball just rolls, because there's a lip right here. There's a little lip, as you can see right here, and that's stopping the ball. What they should have done is some kind of at least a cutout in some fashion which would allow the ball to go off the ledge. Even if I do this with my hand, not using the lever, the ball still wants to fall off of the ledge, because the ledge is basically pulling it off the magnets just enough that it pushes the magnet right off where the ball would be centered, and then it doesn't have its grip anymore. But if you force it, obviously you're not supposed to force this. And again, this is intended for a 6-year-old. If I can't even get through the first obstacle without having to help it, like, this is kind of a little bit frustrating, and it's not really, it doesn't seem like it's that intended for somebody of that age, or it needs to be reworked. This probably didn't go through product testing too well. Anyway, as they at least put a magnet on here that's strong enough to hold the ball. But once we get the ball over to this section, the arm stops because it hits this plastic. It has a little groove that allows it to basically stop once it hits this plastic, which tees up, again, the little boat over here. But you'd think that if you got up to this platform part where you're basically splitting and spreading these two bars, you would think that it would basically have the clearance underneath there. Now, this isn't something that if you go a little bit faster, it's still, you know, you're going to lose the ball. That's what you're going to do. But what it is there's not enough clearance for the marble that it came with for it to be able to go through the arch. I don't even understand how they could design a game where the ball that's intended for the game doesn't go through the arch. It doesn't drop down. Something is awry here in regards to the fact that it doesn't have the clearance. Either this plastic piece is too big or this part isn't high enough. But again, we have to force it and help it along as we move the ball onto the arch and then allow the magnet to do its job, which it won't even do, which is basically to push this down. Anyway, so you basically spread it, and that allows it to basically dip because it's going to fall, and that allows the momentum to start, and then you get it on this little balancing platform where you're basically just trying to tilt this to get it onto the bridge. So so you can see how it dumped it right off the obstacle. So we got it onto the bridge now, and now we teed it up in this little area, which they're calling it the fire pit, where you basically have to hop your ball from one peg to the next one, and you're climbing it up till you get to this blind maze. So you're just hopping it along, and you're getting it into each one of these. Now, the last one's the hardest, obviously. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to partially, as you can see, I'm going to tee this up, because if it goes really fast down the ramp, I want it to at least go into the maze and not go so fast that it hits the edge of the maze and it hops off the board. So let's do the last one. So again, you got to do the whole thing in 70 seconds. Every time it messes up, the whole thing in 70 seconds. So once it's in the receiving area of the maze, it allows you to basically tilt it in, and it won't fall out. So and you'll know that you've gone through the maze when it comes out the other end. And here again is another problem that we have. See, I have the ball at the end of the maze, but it just doesn't want to get off the maze. Let's change the view here so you can actually see what's going on. I'm going to take this off. Now, this is it at the end of the maze. And you can see I can't hop it onto it. And what's going on with that is it's basically the lip of this is too high, and it's not allowing the little marble to basically hop onto. I'm going to grab this ball, but it's not allowing the marble to hop onto the little boat or the little wooden spaceship, whatever you call it. And again, as you're moving the maze, it's like it doesn't want to get. There we go. But after working that like that and having the marble fall all over the place, it still took forever to get that on that. Now, I get it as an obstacle course, but it should be, the mechanics of it should be a little bit easier to navigate than just that. So we're going to turn the next little, so as this thing goes up, it actually has kind of like a little lift where it lifts it up kind of like an airplane. As you can see right here, kind of lifts it up and then it brings it down. Now, again, I kind of wish that you had a little bit of a tilt on the front of this. Since it does lift up, where it tilts the front of it up anyway, the ball's not going to roll off. But you can see the problem I'm going to have getting onto that. Like, that happened perfectly that time, but a lot of the times, no matter how hard you jam that, it doesn't want to come off. And again, this is intended for a 6-year-old, and I'm a grown adult, and I'm trying to get this flawlessly. So, that was obviously way too far. So we hit the ball that time, or the bell that time. So, I don't know. I like this game. I think the intention of it's awesome. Because, again, it's like an obstacle course. And this is sick. So it's sick that it's an obstacle course. But the fact that you have to help it through each one, it's intended for as low as the age of 6. I don't know. It's just, obviously it's going to take some time to get used to the techniques of navigating each one of these. But something like this, where you're like trying to get that onto the magnet so that you can take it off the board, it's not every time it's going to do that, no matter what you do. Every time, because it's got that lip there and it's going to stop it from dragging off. So if we even just turned it around and I showed you it this way, alright, so we'll just put it up there because it obviously doesn't want to be easy on that. So we'll just put that there and we'll try to at least get the receiver to pick it up. I don't know why this is like... weird. So it's like tilted in a way. I don't understand that. But anyway, so even when with the receiver there, you can see the engagement of the magnet. You can see that it was able to get it. But once it gets to that lip, it just doesn't want to, every time, it doesn't want to go off of it. No matter what you do, it just doesn't want to go off that lip. Because it hits that lip every single time right there. And it doesn't want to transfer over. But even if you were able to get it, I mean, I'm doing this with my fingers and it's hard to pick it up over that because the gap is so tight. And then when you bring it over here, it's fine. It gets onto the receiving end fine, but it doesn't want to go through the gate. And you can turn this as hard as you want. It's not going to go through. That's what's going to happen. It's going to end up going backwards. You actually have to force it through. You actually have to force it through because it doesn't want to go through the clearance of the ball that they provide is not good enough. And then like this part's fine. This part's actually something that would take skill to navigate this. But the other parts, it's like no skill is going to let the ball go over this ridge. No skill is going to make the ball go through this hole here because the hole's just simply not big enough. You know, this part's all skill right here where you're hopping the ball up. The maze is skill. Dropping the ball onto the plane, or the little spaceship, whatever it is. This one, I mean, it's got to be functional. Like at least 90% of the time, the ball should land at least where it's supposed to, and it should hold in place, and it should hop off onto the next station. You shouldn't have to worry about, like, why not have a little cutout there so that it could slide perfectly down into that. But again, I digress. This is intended for a 6-year-old. I mean, again, the concept's great. I think it's fun if you don't have to help it along. Have I had any success in getting it over those ridges and through those holes ever? No. It's always been the same result. And with every version of the game, it's the same result. So that could be maybe the reason why they're not making this game anymore. They don't have any newer renditions of this beyond the early 2000s. This is a game from the 80s, but they did proceed to make versions of this, but to a fault. This one probably should have been product tested a little bit more before it was released, especially to an age group of 6-year-old children. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you've had any issues playing Screwball Scramble, or if you had any different versions of it that didn't act this way, let us know in the comments below. If you want more reviews like this, subscribe to this channel. Have a great rest of your day.